I heard every single word through that bedroom door. Every single word. Oh, my daughter's voice was hushed but urgent, like she was discussing a hostage situation. Mom's losing it, Rebecca. I'm telling you, we need to move fast on getting power of attorney before she gives everything away. She's vulnerable right now. This is our window. Our window. Like I was some limited time sale at Macy's. I was 3 days post-surgery, sitting in my own home, recovering from what should have been a routine procedure. Instead, I was overhearing my daughter plot to take control of my life, my assets, everything I'd worked 40 years to build. My name is Catherine Hayes. I'm 72 years old, and until that phone call, I thought I'd raised a daughter who valued integrity over inheritance. I was wrong. Hello, everyone, and thanks for being here today. Before I tell you what happened next, I'd love to know, where are you watching from? Drop your state or country in the comments. It helps me know I'm not alone in this, and honestly, after what I went through, knowing there's a community out there means everything. Now, let me take you back to where this really started. Not in that bedroom 3 days after surgery, but 6 months earlier, when I made what my daughter would later call the mistake that started it all. I decided to donate $25,000 to the Children's Hospital in Portland, Maine, where I live. My late husband Thomas and I had always supported them. When Thomas died of pancreatic cancer 4 years ago, they'd cared for a young nephew of ours with such compassion that I'd promised myself I'd give back when I could. That donation set off alarm bells for my daughter Jennifer and her husband Marcus. Not because they cared about charity, because they cared about their future inheritance. Jennifer called me the day after she somehow found out about the donation. "Mom, we need to talk about your financial decisions. $25,000. Do you understand what that kind of money means to our future?" "Your future?" I'd asked, genuinely confused. "Jennifer, it's my money to do with as I please." "Dad would want you to be smart about this. Think about the grandchildren's college funds." The grandchildren. My 2 grandsons, Dylan and Connor, ages 14 and 12, the ones I saw maybe 3 times a year because Jennifer was always too busy to make the 4-hour drive from Boston. Thomas would have been proud of that donation, not ashamed, but Jennifer was rewriting history, turning my generous, kind husband into some money-hoarding miser to justify her greed. I should have seen it then. The calculation in her voice, the way she'd started viewing me as an asset to be managed rather than a person to be loved. But I was still grieving Thomas, still adjusting to widowhood, and I wanted to believe my only child had my best interests at heart. That phone call should have been my first warning, but sometimes we don't want to see what's right in front of us, especially when it's coming from the people we love most. The real wake-up call came 6 months later, in the form of that overheard conversation after my surgery. The surgery itself had been routine, a hip replacement that I'd been putting off for 2 years because I didn't want to be a burden. I'd arranged everything myself. The hospital, the home care nurse, the physical therapy schedule. I'd even stocked my freezer with pre-made meals. Jennifer had insisted on staying with me for the first week. "Mom, you can't be alone after major surgery," she'd said with such convincing concern that I'd actually felt grateful. She arrived the day before my procedure with 2 large suitcases. Odd for a week's stay, I thought, but I brushed it off. Marcus came too, which surprised me. He rarely took time off from his investment firm. The surgery went perfectly. Dr. Morrison said my recovery would be textbook. I came home tired but optimistic, ready to rest and heal. That first night, Jennifer was attentive. She brought me soup, adjusted my pillows, and helped me to the bathroom. I remember thinking maybe I'd been too harsh in my judgment. Maybe she really did care. The second day, she started asking questions. "Mom, where do you keep your financial documents? I should know in case of emergency. What's your attorney's name again? We should have that information handy. Have you thought about updating your will? You know, with Dad gone and everything changing?" I deflected. Something in her tone felt off, too casual, too probing, like she was mining for information rather than offering help. By the third day, I was mobile enough to walk to the bathroom on my own with my walker. My bedroom was on the first floor. Thomas and I had moved down here years ago when stairs became difficult. The guest room where Jennifer and Marcus were staying was directly above, but they'd been spending a lot of time in the kitchen, which shared a wall with my bedroom. That afternoon, I'd been resting in bed, drowsy from pain medication but not asleep. I heard Jennifer's voice through the wall, muffled but audible. She was on the phone. At first, I thought nothing of it. Then I heard my name. I quietly reached for my walker and moved closer to the door, which was slightly ajar. The pain medication made everything feel surreal, but my mind was sharp enough to understand what I was hearing. "Rebecca, I'm telling you, this is the perfect time," Jennifer was saying. Her sister-in-law, I realized, Marcus's sister. "She's vulnerable. She's on heavy pain meds, and after that ridiculous donation last year, who knows what she'll do next? We need to get power of attorney before she gives everything away." My heart started pounding. I gripped my walker so hard my knuckles went white. "Marcus talked to a lawyer friend," she continued. "We can present it as helping her manage things during recovery. She'll probably just sign it. She trusts me." There it was, the word that broke my heart. Trusted. Past tense was more accurate now. "I have to go," Jennifer said suddenly. "She might need something. I'll call you tonight with an update." I heard footsteps approaching and quickly made my way back to bed, my hips screaming with pain I barely registered. I arranged myself to look like I'd been sleeping. Jennifer opened my door moments later, her face a mask of concern. "Mom, you okay? I thought I heard something." "Just resting," I said, keeping my eyes mostly closed. She left, and I lay there staring at the ceiling, my mind racing despite the pain medication fog. Everything suddenly made sense. The 2 suitcases. She'd been planning an extended stay to wear me down. Marcus, taking time off work. They needed him to play the role of concerned son-in-law. The constant questions about my finances. Reconnaissance. I thought about my late husband, Thomas. We'd built a comfortable life through decades of hard work. He'd been a civil engineer. I'd been a high school English teacher. We'd saved carefully, invested wisely, and by the time we retired, we had a beautiful home in Portland, a solid portfolio, and the freedom to enjoy our golden years. When Thomas died, he'd left everything to me with the understanding that eventually it would pass to Jennifer. It wasn't millions, but it was substantial. The house alone was worth nearly $600,000, plus retirement accounts and investments totaling another $800,000. Enough for someone like Jennifer to get greedy. I spent the rest of that day pretending to sleep while my mind worked. Jennifer checked on me every hour, her performance of devoted daughter so convincing, I almost doubted what I'd heard. Almost. That evening, Marcus came in. "Catherine, how are you feeling?" His voice was warm, his smile genuine-looking. He'd always been good at that, the friendly, trustworthy persona. That's probably why he was successful in investments. People trusted him with their money. The irony wasn't lost on me. "Much better," I lied, "just tired." "Jennifer's making your favorite soup for dinner. Chicken and rice, right?" My favorite soup was actually butternut squash, which Jennifer knew perfectly well. The fact that Marcus had it wrong didn't matter. What mattered was they were trying to make me feel cared for, comfortable, grateful, vulnerable. After they left my room, I heard them talking in low voices in the kitchen. I couldn't make out words, but I didn't need to. I knew exactly what they were discussing. That night, after they'd gone upstairs, I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my old friend Patricia at 11 o'clock at night. Patricia and I had taught together for 30 years. She'd retired the same year I did, and we'd stayed close. More importantly, her son David was an estate attorney with his own practice in Portland. "Catherine, what's wrong?" she answered on the second ring, immediately alert. "Pat, I need David's number. I need to talk to him tomorrow morning. It's urgent." "Are you okay? Is it your hip?" "I'm fine physically, but I need legal help. Can you text me his number?" "Of course. But Catherine, you're scaring me. What's happened?" I told her, all of it. The overheard conversation, the probing questions, the sudden devoted attention from Jennifer and Marcus. There was a long silence on the other end. Then, "Those absolute bastards." Patricia had never been one to mince words. It was one of the things I loved about her. I'm texting you David's number right now. He owes me for covering his bar exam prep costs, so he'll make time. Call him first thing. And Catherine, don't sign anything, not a single thing. I won't. Promise me. Not even if Jennifer says it's just to help with insurance forms or medical decisions. Nothing. I promise. After we hung up, I lay in the dark listening to the house settle around me. Somewhere above, Jennifer and Marcus were probably sleeping peacefully, confident in their plan. They had no idea what was coming. I called David Patterson at 8:30 the next morning. Jennifer was in the shower, and Marcus had gone out to get coffee. Their routine gave me a narrow window. Mrs. Hayes, my mother said you needed to speak with me urgently. David's voice was professional but kind. I'd met him a few times over the years at Patricia's holiday gatherings. He was in his late 40s, sharp as a tack, and according to Patricia, one of the best estate attorneys in Maine. I explained everything quickly, quietly, with one eye on my bedroom door. When I finished, David was quiet for a moment. Mrs. Hayes, what you're describing is unfortunately more common than you'd think. Adult children attempting to gain control of their aging parents' assets, using power of attorney as a tool. The fact that they're doing this while you're recovering from surgery, presumably hoping you're cognitively impaired by pain medication, makes it particularly predatory. Can you help me? Absolutely, but I need to ask you something directly. Are you cognitively sound right now? Are you on pain medication? I'm on pain medication, yes, but my mind is clear. I understand exactly what's happening. Good. Then here's what we're going to do. I'm going to come to your house today at 3 o'clock. I'll say I'm there to review some routine estate documents, which is actually true, because we're going to create an ironclad trust that will protect your assets from exactly this kind of manipulation. A trust. Yes, an irrevocable trust with a board of trustees, professionals who have a fiduciary duty to manage the assets according to your wishes. You'll retain beneficial interest, meaning you can still use your money for your needs, but no one, including your daughter, can pressure you into making decisions you don't want to make, and no power of attorney can override it. My heart was racing. How quickly can you set this up? Given the urgency, I can have the documents drawn up by this afternoon. We'll need witnesses. I'll bring my paralegal and another attorney from my firm. They can witness your signature and testify to your mental competency if this ever goes to court. Court? It's possible Jennifer might challenge this, claiming you weren't of sound mind. But trust me, Mrs. Hayes, I'm very good at what I do. We'll make this bulletproof. What do I owe you for this? Let's discuss fees later. Right now, we need to move quickly. Are you comfortable meeting at 3? Will your daughter and son-in-law be there? I thought about Jennifer's schedule. She'd been going to the grocery store every afternoon around 2:30, taking an hour or more. They might be out, but if they're here, that's fine. Actually, it might be better. David paused. You want them to see this? I want them to understand that I know exactly what they were planning, and that it failed. I heard what might have been a smile in David's voice. Mrs. Hayes, I think we're going to get along very well. I'll see you at 3. After hanging up, I felt something I hadn't felt in days. Powerful. In control. Jennifer came in 20 minutes later with breakfast. Oatmeal with brown sugar, which she knew I hated. Another small failure in her performance. How are you feeling, Mom? Much better, I said truthfully. Much better. If you're enjoying this story and want to see how this plays out, please hit that subscribe button. Your support means everything to me. The hours until 3 o'clock crawled by like molasses. Jennifer hovered, Marcus hovered, and I played the part of grateful, slightly foggy patient. Around 2, Jennifer mentioned going to the store. We need more supplies for dinner. Marcus and I will go together. You'll be okay for an hour? Of course, I said. I might nap. The irony was rich. They wanted me alone so I'd be disoriented and compliant when they returned with their power of attorney paperwork. I could feel it coming. but their absence would give David time to set everything up without immediate confrontation. They left at 2:15. David arrived at 2:45 with two colleagues, a woman named Sarah Chen, his paralegal, and another attorney named Robert Walsh. David was tall, gray-haired, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He moved quickly, setting up papers on my dining room table with efficient precision. "Mrs. Hayes, before we begin, I need to assess your mental competency for the record." He pulled out a small recording device. "Do you consent to being recorded?" "Yes." For the next 10 minutes, he asked me questions. My full name, the date, the president, why I was creating this trust, whether anyone was pressuring me. I answered clearly, precisely, and watched Sarah taking notes while Robert laid out document after document. "This is an irrevocable trust," David explained, showing me the papers. "You're establishing it with 3 trustees, myself, Sarah, and Robert. We have a fiduciary duty to manage these assets according to the terms you're setting. Your home, your investment accounts, everything will be transferred into the trust's name. But I can still live here? Use my money?" "Absolutely. You're the beneficiary. The trust exists to serve you. The difference is that no one can manipulate you into changing these terms or accessing these assets. And this document," he showed me another paper, "explicitly states that you are of sound mind and that this trust is being created specifically to protect your assets from undue influence or coercion." What happens when Jennifer sees this? "Legally, she can't do anything. You have every right to structure your estate as you choose. She'll likely be upset, but Mrs. Hayes, that's the point. You're taking back control." I looked at the papers spread across my dining room table. My entire life, reduced to legal documents, but also protected, secured, mine. Where do I sign? We went through each document carefully. David explained every clause, every provision. Sarah and Robert witnessed each signature. It took 40 minutes. At 3:30, we heard a car in the driveway. David looked at me. "Are you ready?" My hip ached. My heart was pounding, but I'd never been more certain of anything. "I'm ready." Jennifer and Marcus came through the door carrying grocery bags, laughing about something. Their laughter died when they saw 4 people sitting at my dining room table surrounded by legal documents. "Mom?" Jennifer's face went pale. "What's going on? Who are these people?" I smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. "Jennifer, Marcus, these are my attorneys. We've been taking care of some estate matters, important ones." Marcus set down the groceries slowly. His investment banker brain was clearly calculating, trying to understand what he was seeing. Jennifer's eyes darted to the papers, to David, to me. "What kind of estate matters?" "The kind that protect my interests," I said calmly. "Please sit down. We should talk." Jennifer remained standing, her face cycling through confusion, fear, and then anger. Marcus took a seat, his expression carefully neutral, the professional mask sliding into place. David stood and extended his hand. "David Patterson, estate attorney. You must be Jennifer." She ignored his hand. "Mom, what is this? Why are there lawyers in your house? You just had surgery. You shouldn't be making any major decisions right now." "That's interesting," David said mildly, "because my assessment indicates Mrs. Hayes is perfectly competent to make decisions. In fact, she's one of the sharpest clients I've worked with." Jennifer's face flushed. "I don't know who you are or what you've convinced my mother to do." "He convinced me to do nothing," I interrupted. "I called him after I heard your phone conversation with Rebecca 3 days ago." The blood drained from Jennifer's face. "What phone conversation?" "The one where you discussed getting power of attorney over me while I was vulnerable, before I could give everything away. Does that ring a bell?" Marcus shifted in his seat. Jennifer's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. I never, Mom, you must have misheard. I heard perfectly clearly. My hip was replaced, not my ears." I kept my voice level, calm. "You planned to use my recovery as an opportunity to take control of my assets. You were going to present power of attorney papers and hope I'd sign them while I was on pain medication. We were just trying to help." Help yourselves, I finished. To my money. To everything your father and I worked for. Marcus finally spoke, his voice smooth, reasonable. Catherine, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Jennifer was concerned about you. We both were. After that large donation last year, we just wanted to make sure you had guidance for financial decisions. Guidance. I let the word hang in the air. Is that what you call taking control of someone's assets without their consent? Mrs. Hayes has established an irrevocable trust, David said, his tone professional but firm. All her major assets have been transferred to the trust, with a board of 3 trustees, myself and my colleagues, who have a fiduciary duty to manage them according to her wishes. She retains full beneficial interest, but the assets are now protected from any outside influence or coercion. Jennifer found her voice. You did what? Mom, do you understand what you've done? You've given control of your money to complete strangers. No, I said quietly. I've given control to professionals who are legally bound to act in my best interest, unlike my own daughter, apparently. That's not fair. Fair? My voice rose for the first time. Fair would have been you asking me directly if you had concerns about my finances. Fair would have been treating me like a competent adult instead of a mark to be manipulated. Fair would have been loving me instead of loving my money. Tears sprang to Jennifer's eyes. I wondered if they were real. I love you, Mom. I do. I worry about you. You're alone now, and making big financial decisions without family input. The $25,000 donation, I said. That's what this is really about, isn't it? She didn't answer, but Marcus's jaw tightened. I donated money to a children's hospital that cared for our family. That's not financial incompetence. That's generosity. There's a difference. Mom, please. Jennifer was crying now, genuine tears streaming down her face. Please don't do this. We can work this out. I'm sorry if I said something that sounded bad, but I never meant... You never meant for me to hear it, I finished. That's different from never meaning it. David cleared his throat gently. Mr. and Mrs. Morrison, I should inform you that Mrs. Hayes has also updated her will. While I can't discuss the specifics without her permission, I can tell you that the previous arrangement has been modified significantly. This was news to me. We'd focused on the trust, not the will. I looked at David, who gave me the slightest nod. He was bluffing, adding pressure. Smart. Marcus stood up abruptly. Jennifer, we should go. This isn't the time or place to discuss this. Actually, I said, I'd like you to leave today. Not later. Now. Jennifer's face crumpled. Mom, no, please. Let me stay and take care of you. You need help. I have a home care nurse starting tomorrow. Patricia's daughter-in-law, actually. She'll be here twice daily to help with my recovery needs. I don't need you here. You're throwing me out? Your own daughter? The hurt in her voice almost broke my resolve. Almost. Then I remembered her words on that phone call. She's vulnerable. This is our window. I'm not throwing you out of my life, Jennifer, but I am setting boundaries. You're welcome to visit after you've had time to think about what you really want from our relationship. If it's a genuine mother-daughter connection, my door is open. If it's access to my assets, you're wasting your time. Marcus was already picking up their grocery bags. Come on, Jen. Your mother needs rest. We'll get our things. David, Sarah, and Robert stood as well, gathering their documents into neat folders. Mrs. Hayes, David said, we'll file these papers first thing Monday morning. You'll receive copies of everything by courier. If you need anything at all, call me directly. He handed me his card with his cell phone number written on the back in pen. After they left, the house felt suddenly too quiet. I could hear Jennifer and Marcus moving around upstairs, the sounds of suitcases being packed hastily. I sat at my dining room table, surrounded by the evidence of my rebellion. My hip throbbed, my heart ached, but my mind felt clearer than it had in months. Jennifer came downstairs 20 minutes later, her eyes red, makeup smeared. Marcus followed with their suitcases. At the door, she turned back. Mom, I'm sorry. I really am. I know you don't believe me right now, but I do love you. Her voice cracked. I just got scared after Dad died, scared of losing you, scared of the future, scared of everything, and I handled it so badly. For a moment, I saw my little girl again, the one who'd brought me dandelions from the yard and called them treasure, the one who'd cried in my arms after her first heartbreak. But I also saw the woman who'd plotted to take advantage of my vulnerability. I know you're scared, Jennifer, but fear doesn't excuse betrayal. When you're ready to have an honest conversation about what happened and why, call me. Until then, I need space. She nodded, tears falling freely now. Marcus put his hand on her shoulder and guided her out the door. I watched through the window as their car pulled out of my driveway. The taillights disappeared down the street. And then I was alone. Really alone. I made my way back to my bedroom, each step a reminder of my hip surgery and the physical vulnerability that Jennifer had tried to exploit. But I wasn't vulnerable. Not anymore. That night, Patricia came over with dinner. Her famous lasagna that she knew I actually loved. Unlike Jennifer's chicken and rice soup, we sat in my kitchen and I told her everything. "You did the right thing," she said firmly. "I know it hurts. I can see it hurts. But Catherine, what they were planning was elder abuse. That's what it's called when adult children try to manipulate their aging parents into signing over power of attorney. Elder abuse," I repeated. The words felt heavy, clinical. That's what my daughter was attempting. Yes, and you stopped it. You were smart, you were strong, and you protected yourself. Thomas would be so proud of you. That made me cry. The first tears I'd allowed myself since this whole nightmare began. Over the next few weeks, my recovery progressed smoothly. The home care nurse, Melissa, was wonderful, professional, kind, and had absolutely no interest in my finances, which was refreshing. Jennifer called twice. The first time, 3 days after they left, I didn't answer. I wasn't ready. The second time, a week later, I picked up. "Mom?" Her voice was small, uncertain. "Hello, Jennifer. How are you feeling? How's your hip?" "Healing well. Melissa says I'm ahead of schedule with physical therapy." "That's good. That's really good." A pause. "Mom, I've been thinking a lot about what happened, about what I said, what I planned." I waited. "I talked to a therapist. Marcus and I both did, together, and I'm starting to understand how twisted my thinking had become. After Dad died, I started seeing your money as something that would disappear if I didn't, I don't know, control it somehow. Like if I could just manage it, I could prevent more loss. But that wasn't about protecting you. It was about my own anxiety and my own greed, if I'm honest." It was the most honest thing she'd said to me in years. "I appreciate you saying that, Jennifer. I really do. But understanding what you did wrong isn't the same as making it right." "I know. And I don't expect you to forgive me right away. Or maybe ever. But I want you to know that I'm working on myself. And Mom, I'm genuinely sorry. Not sorry I got caught. Sorry for what I tried to do to you." We talked for 30 minutes. It wasn't a magical reconciliation. Those only happen in movies. But it was a start. A small tentative step toward maybe, someday, rebuilding something. I didn't tell her about the trust details. I didn't invite her to visit, but I didn't close the door entirely either. After we hung up, I sat with my morning coffee and looked out at my garden. Thomas had planted those roses 20 years ago. They bloomed every summer, reliable and beautiful, surviving everything Maine weather threw at them. Some things endure, I thought. Some things are worth protecting. I'd protected what mattered, my autonomy, my dignity, my right to make my own decisions about my own life. And if that meant disappointing my daughter, so be it. 3 months after the surgery, I was back to my normal routine. Well, a new normal. My hip was fully recovered, and I was walking without assistance. More importantly, I was living without fear. The trust was functioning exactly as David had promised. When I needed money for expenses, Sarah handled the paperwork efficiently. When I wanted to make another donation, this time to the public library, Robert helped me structure it properly. I had access to my money and the freedom to use it as I wished, but I also had protection from anyone who might try to manipulate me, including Jennifer. She'd been calling weekly, our conversations gradually becoming less strained. She'd sent a long letter, actual handwritten pages, explaining her therapy journey and taking full responsibility for her actions. Marcus had sent one too, apologizing for going along with the plan and admitting he'd been motivated by his own financial anxiety. I appreciated their efforts. I even believed they were sincere. But trust, once broken, doesn't heal as cleanly as a hip replacement. In April, Jennifer asked if she could visit for my 73rd birthday. Just her, not Marcus, just for the afternoon. I said yes. She arrived with flowers, real ones, expensive ones from the good florist downtown, not grocery store carnations. She'd lost weight, I noticed. She looked tired. We had tea in my living room, an awkward formality between us. "The house looks beautiful," she said. "You've been keeping up the garden." Patricia's son helps me with the heavy work, but yes, I've been maintaining it. "Mom, She set down her teacup. "I need you to know something. I've been working with my therapist on this for months, and I need to say it out loud to you." I waited. What I did was unforgivable. I've been trying to find ways to explain it or contextualize it, but the truth is simple. I tried to steal your autonomy because I wanted your money. I convinced myself it was about protecting you or planning for the future, but it was greed, pure greed. And I'm ashamed. Tears were rolling down her face, not the manipulative tears from before, but genuine grief and shame. When Dad died, something broke in me. I started seeing the world as this terrifying place where everything could be taken away at any moment. And instead of dealing with that fear in a healthy way, I tried to control everything, including you. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry." I reached across and took her hand. "I forgive you, Jennifer." She looked up, shocked. "You do?" "I forgive you, but I won't forget. And things between us will never be exactly what they were before. The trust stays in place. The boundaries stay in place. But yes, I forgive you." She cried harder, and I held her hand while she did. "I don't deserve your forgiveness," she whispered. "Probably not," I agreed, "but I'm not giving it to you for your sake. I'm giving it for mine. I don't want to spend whatever time I have left carrying anger toward my only child." We talked for 3 hours that afternoon. Really talked about her fears, about my loneliness after Thomas died, about money and family and expectations. It wasn't comfortable, but it was real. When she left, she hugged me carefully at the door. "Thank you, Mom, for setting boundaries, for protecting yourself, for teaching me what real strength looks like." That evening, I sat on my back porch watching the sunset paint my garden in shades of gold and rose. My hip occasionally reminded me of its new titanium component, but the pain was minimal now, just a whisper compared to the ache I'd felt months ago. I thought about Jennifer's visit, about forgiveness and boundaries, about the complicated mess that is family. We'd probably never be as close as we once were, or as close as I'd imagined we were, but we had something now that was perhaps more valuable: honesty. The trust remained in place. David sent quarterly reports showing my assets were being managed conservatively and well. I'd made several more charitable donations, to the library, to a women's shelter, to the food bank. Each time Sarah handled the paperwork, and I felt the satisfaction of using my money the way Thomas and I had always intended, to help others. Jennifer had started bringing the boys to visit once a month. Dylan and Connor were good kids, and watching them explore my garden, asking questions about Thomas's roses, reminded me that family was more than just Jennifer's betrayal. It was also these 2 young men who were learning, I hoped, about integrity and boundaries and complex forgiveness. Marcus kept his distance, which suited me fine. He sent polite cards on holidays. That was enough. Patricia and I had coffee every Thursday morning, our standing tradition for the past 3 years now. She'd been my rock through all of this, proof that chosen family can be just as important as blood family. People often ask me if I regret how I handled things, if I wish I'd confronted Jennifer differently, or given her more chances, or simply let it go. My answer is always the same: no. What Jennifer tried to do wasn't just wrong, it was a violation of everything a parent-child relationship should be. And while I've forgiven her, I've also accepted that protecting myself wasn't cruelty. It was survival. I'm 73 years old now. I have a titanium hip, a garden full of Thomas's roses, a trust fund managed by professionals, and a daughter who's learning that love isn't the same as control. I have my dignity intact. I have my autonomy. I have my life, exactly as I choose to live it. Some people might say I was lucky. Lucky that I overheard that phone call. Lucky that Patricia's son was an estate attorney. Lucky that I had the resources to protect myself. And yes, I was lucky. But I also made choices, hard choices, painful choices. I chose to believe what I heard rather than convince myself I'd misunderstood. I chose to act rather than hope things would resolve themselves. I chose my own well-being over my daughter's comfort. And those choices saved me. If you're watching this and you're facing something similar, if someone you love is trying to take advantage of your vulnerability, your age, your circumstances, please know that protecting yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. You deserve to live your life on your terms, no matter how old you are. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone out there find their own strength. Take care of yourselves, and remember, it's never too late to stand up for yourself.